to the Expenses Asia video blog. Last week we took a look at the Arco 70 Android Internet tablet, and this week we've got two of the hottest new smartphones on the market in Apple's iPhone 4 White, as well as the newly released Samsung Galaxy 2S. Let's take a look first at the Samsung Galaxy S2. It is running a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core processor, and it's one of the first phones to feature a dual-core processor. It has 1 gigabyte of RAM, as well as 16 gigs of onboard storage, which is expandable via micro SD. A 4.3-inch Super AMOLED screen, and it is 8.49 millimeters thick, as well as 119 grams. Now let's take a look at the Apple iPhone 4 White. It's running an Apple A4 processor, 512 megabytes of RAM, and is available in 16 or 32 gigabyte configurations, and it features a 3.5-inch 960 by 640 LED backlit TFT touchscreen. Looking at the iPhone 4 White, one of the only noticeable differences between the iPhone 4 White and the iPhone 4 Black is this area right up here. This is the light sensor. Now this is actually present on the iPhone 4 Black as well, but you can't really notice it as much. Other than that, it's got the standard iPhone 4 metal rim, the ceramic backplating, and pretty much everything else you expect from an iPhone. The Samsung Galaxy S2, on the other hand, is a little bit bigger. But at the same time is both thinner and lighter. You can notice the difference when you're handling both phones in your hands. There's also this textured back grip here, which you can remove to replace the battery as well as the SIM card. Now we're going to start up both devices here really quick. Now the Samsung Galaxy S2 has been touted as having a much faster processor. Let's see if it makes any difference with the boot times. You can see the Samsung is already more or less ready to use, but the iPhone isn't too far behind. Now, the iPhone is obviously running iOS 4, whereas the Samsung Galaxy S2 is running Android 2.3. However, Samsung has done a lot of customization with the Android interface and have in fact made it quite similar to the iPhone in a number of ways. So much so, in fact, that Apple is now suing Samsung. But that's a discussion for another time. We'll scroll through the interfaces right now and let you be the judge. So when it comes to the pros and cons of each device, obviously the Galaxy S2 has a lot of pros going for it, being the newer phone. It's got a faster dual-core processor, higher resolution camera, and the Super AMOLED screen provides better color contrast and lower power consumption at the same time. Not all is great. There's no 32 gigabyte version yet, although you can expand it via micro SD. Also, although it's newer and in many respects the screen is better, it's lower resolution than the iPhone 4. And the bigger screen can make it less pocketable despite the lower weight. Lastly, sometimes the body of it, although has a very high quality feel to it, it still feels a bit more plasticky than the iPhone. Meanwhile, the iPhone 4, although it's a bit older, still has a few tricks up its sleeve. Although we've said a lot about the Samsung's screen, actually the iPhone 4 screen is higher resolution at 960 by 640, whereas the Samsung screen is 800 by 480. Also, one thing people sometimes don't consider when they're buying a phone is that the iPhone 4 is in many respects easier to upgrade because it's using the iPhone OS, whereas the Galaxy S2 is using a customized version of Android. And if you want to upgrade to a newer version of Android, you need to wait until Samsung comes up with the proper upgrade path. One last thing to consider regarding the iPhone is the ease of downloading music and movies over iTunes. There's really no equivalent of that in the Android marketplace at this moment. However, although iTunes makes downloading movies and music quite convenient, it can be very difficult to transfer things to your phone compared to Android devices. Also, there's no micro SD slots, so you can't expand the memory, and there's no user replaceable battery, whereas on the Galaxy S2 it's quite easy to replace the battery. Lastly, although the iPhone 4 White was just released a couple weeks ago, it is essentially the same as the iPhone 4 Black, and there are no performance enhancements or any other major changes other than the color. So you're pretty much getting the same iPhone 4 you would have gotten 6 months ago. Once again, these are both two of the best phones out on the market, and you can't really go wrong getting either one. Get the Galaxy S2 if you need the fastest processor with the biggest, brightest screen out there, are upgrading from an iPhone 4, or value thinness and screen real estate over pocketability. The iPhone 4 is still going to be a top choice if you're upgrading from an earlier version of iPhone and have already invested a lot in your app and media library, or if you need something that is easier to fit in your pocket, even if it weighs it down a little bit more. Thank you once again for tuning in to this week's Expenses Asia video blog. We welcome your questions, comments, and suggestions, which you can leave on our Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter pages. Or you can email us directly at info@expenses.com.hk. Well, that's all for now. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.